Welcome to the Forgive and Try show. In today's episode, we invited a special guest to discuss how we can stand strong in times of chaos and confusion. With the COVID-19 pandemic, the whole world has plummeted in a situation of chaos and confusion that affected individuals in their own personal lives and business, and communities, as well as the normal functioning of entire countries. At the time of recording, while many countries in the world are moving towards an improved situation with vaccination programs being implemented, other countries are still facing desperate conditions. India, for example, is facing a huge emergency with COVID, and there are indications that a third wave of the pandemic might be inevitable. And India is the country where today's guest was born and lives. Today we speak with Dsouza, and we talk with him how we can stand strong in times such as this. Despite a very humble start in life, Bobby has managed to rise from poverty and adversities. Today is an inspiring motivational speaker, musician, and the author of a book titled Fallen to Rise. In his own words, when he didn't get the miracles he desired, he decided to be a miracle to thousands of people. He has empowered well over 150 corporations, 29,000 people in person, and more than 250,000 people online through his keynote speech, podcasts, and videos. Hi, Bobby. Welcome to the Forgive and Try show. Thank you for being with us today.
Rossana, it is an absolute delight, to come back and have a conversation. And I'm sure that, it's going to be a great conversation. We'll be able to share some insights and, learn from each other.
Absolutely. So, Bobby, I mentioned something about your beginnings and how you then raised from that first situation. But can you start telling us a little bit more and how your life impacted you?
Yes, just giving a little synopsis, of a little bit of my story. And my story is already there in a book called Fallen to Rise, which is already available on Amazon. I come from a family wherein my father, left the family and, one day chose to disappear. He just told my mother that, you go back to your hometown and, I'll be back. I have two beautiful sisters and me and my mother. And he said, I'll come. And he never returned. We went back to my mother's home, waiting for him like for a year, for 5 years, for 10 years, for 20 years, for 30 years, and even beyond that. And he never returned. And it was surprising. It was shocking. A lot of time, there were, as a little kid, the question was, was it my fault? Was there something wrong with my mother? Was there something wrong with my sisters? These were questions that, would not let me sleep and definitely would not let my mother sleep. But, we went through confusion. We went through complete anxiety, worry, and we did not know what to do with our lives. And during those times of, unforeseen situations, uncertainties, I think there was this inner voice, which said there is something bigger, something better, something higher, which is going to happen. Yes, your current reality looks terrible. There seems to be no hope. Just like when you go into a tunnel, it's all dark. But if you still have the guts and faith to keep moving forward, even though you can't see anything, sooner or later, you are able to see some path, some untrodden path. And somehow, with belief and with hope and with this great support of my own family, we were able to pave through it. And today, somebody who was once a construction laborer on the roads of Mumbai, who used to earn in pennies and, just in paise and rupees, I'm glad to say that today I've been able to empower thousands of people across the globe, and more than 29,000 people in person, and more than in Indian, we say that, 250,000 people online through podcasts, through videos, through keynotes, through workshops. And one of the biggest messages that I give to people is, during the most chaotic times, something bigger, something better, something higher is actually going to come for you if you just have the guts to not give up and keep moving forward. That's a bit of my story.
absolutely beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. You mentioned that when your father left, you had all these feelings. You started to feel guilty and thinking that perhaps it was your fault that that happened. As a child, how did that impacted you, and what sort of journey had to take to release all these emotions and all this guilt?
When I was really, really small, I was put into a boarding school because my mother used to work 2 jobs a day, and I was not the most, quiet child. I was a very mischievous child. I used to create havoc for my mother, and this is among the first podcasts that I'm actually talking about this. That I was very mischievous. I used to get hurt, and I did not need enemies to hurt me. I used to fall down, get hurt over here, get hurt over there, and visiting the doctor was something that used to happen commonly. And my mother realized that she cannot take care of me and at the same time also work. So I was put into a boarding school just to get better. And when I was in a boarding school, and suddenly when my mother left me over there, plus my father was not there, I felt completely lonely and isolated in front of hundreds of students suddenly. And I still remember that I used to lie down on the bed and I used to cry. And because I don't know, I was a little melodious, so I used to start creating my own songs when I was 2, 3, 4 years old. And I should just sing songs to myself, saying that, Mom, why did you leave me? And one of the things that used to happen is I used to feel very insecure about myself, because I used to say possibly my mother, dropped me at this boarding because she can't take care of me, because possibly I'm not good enough. My father left me because, I'm not good enough. And, and I did not have a father as a role model. So I grew up very insecure about my looks, about my height, about myself. And I was really bullied a lot when I was a little kid because I was a little different. Right. That was the challenge that I had. I grew up with a lot of insecurity, but I'm so glad to say that I found refuge in my talents.
Absolutely.
I somehow found a refuge in possibly singing. I used to sing a little well. I can't say I was very good, but I used to sing well. And then, suddenly I was invited in schools to perform in front of groups. I used to play the drums a little, so I started playing the drums. I could dance a little, so I started dancing, and I started drawing and some of these things. And what I did is I found refuge in those things.
Fantastic. So you use basically music and dance to come out of your shell and overcome.
That's right.
Overcome all the hurdles. That's beautiful and quite remarkable, for a child, because normally children don't really have that sort of ability, to come out with something that they can really use to overcome these emotions, right? They need support, they need care, they need others to take care of them. So absolutely remarkable. So today we talk about chaos, about confusion, and how we can stand strong. And I found a quote. In fact, I found 2 quotes from Oscar Wilde that I want to read and comment with you. The first one is, "Without order, nothing can exist. Without chaos, nothing can evolve."
Brilliant. Absolutely.
What is your thought about it?
I think there needs to be a sense of order, Even when we look at our own family, if you don't have some sort of an order, it is going to be a complete ruckus. Even if you have pets at home, you've got to bring in some order in the home. There has to be some element of certainty. But at the same time, I also believe that, like Tony Robbins says, uncertainty is the spice of life. There needs to be surprises. There has to be times wherein we do not know what's going to happen next. If we were already aware of everything that would happen with our lives, then there wouldn't be no magic, right?
Right. We
There
will be a
has to be
little bit
some.
bored.
That's right. We would be bored, and therefore it is. Somehow the universe, the creator, is more smarter than us, and therefore the universe and the creator chooses to bring in chaos and surprises and worries and problems one after the other. Like Les Brown says, um, while you think one wave of storm comes in and you said, oh, I've handled this situation, suddenly there is another storm that comes in and say, oh my God. And that's exactly what happened in India and across the world, right? Suddenly the COVID-19 decreased the first surge and we said, oh great, we started going out, we started laughing, we started moving out, and suddenly out of nowhere there was a second surge, and we went on a back foot. Firstly, it's definitely very, very painful, Rossana. I will admit it. Sometimes it can become very frustrating. It sounds very tough. We get angry, feeling claustrophobic just being within a home, for so many days and months. But at the same time, slowly, steadily, as we start getting hang of it, we realize that even from the chaos, something good is coming out. For example, for me, I've realized that I've become a better person. I've become a better person. I am learning new skills. I'm developing myself. I'm realizing how pathetic I can be sometimes when I'm very reactive. You
Yes.
know, I also realize that there are people who are closely knitted around me who are so supportive. And without them, I would have become insane, you know, in what we've all gone through. So I think though we love certainty, but uncertainty is a great teacher, I believe.
Absolutely. And what you are saying actually connects very well with the second quote about pain. It's also from Oscar Wilde, who said, "There are times when sorrow seems to me to be the only truth. Other things may be illusions of the eye or the appetite, made to blind the one and cloy the other. But out of sorrow have the worlds been built, and at the birth of a child or a star there is pain."
That is brilliant. Wow.
So meaning basically that to create something beautiful, sometimes we have to go through pain, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I can completely resonate with what you just said. Would it be okay if I can quickly share?
Absolutely.
There was a stage of my life when I went through a major, major breakup, in my life. And I was completely devastated. I was on the verge of committing suicide. That's where I reached actually. And I wanted to just isolate myself from the entire world. I didn't want to be with anybody completely. And I've completely, I told my mom that, I'm going to go somewhere else, to do work of inspiration, for motivation, when I initially started motivating people. But the goal was basically not to really motivate people. The goal was basically to get out of this place where I was getting all the memories of, a lost relationship that I had gone through. And I wanted to get out of it because it was giving me nightmare. I was good in my weight, but I had lost so much of weight because I wasn't eating. And I was completely pale. I looked tired. I hadn't slept for days. And one day I decided, I'm going to go to a place and just spend the rest of my life over there. I'm never going to get into a relationship. I'm never going to get into giving love another chance. And I'm going to just possibly inspire people and help people. And it's never going to be about me. It's going to be about helping other people. That's what I thought. That's somehow my imperfect mind thought about it. And I remember I used to go into that college. I used to inspire people. People used to love the session that I would deliver. People say, I'm getting so inspired. I'm feeling so hopeful. But I remember every night when I used to go back to the little apartment where I was staying, I would go back and almost cry till 2 o'clock in the night because of the memories and the pain that I used to go through. And I said, this is possibly my life, that I did not get the miracle that I was waiting for, but, hopefully I can be a miracle to somebody else, I thought of that. But slowly, steadily, as I started, meeting the youth, the children, the students in the college, one thing that the students observed was Every time when I was in the seminar hall, when I was in the classroom with them, I was laughing and I was enjoying and smiling. But as soon as I, exited the classroom, I was a different person. I didn't want to talk with anybody because agony and pain and anxiety was my way of living. I was victim in my mindset. But I suddenly started meeting the youth over there. I made friends over there. And I started realizing that, these guys need help. These guys need strength. These guys need guidance. And, I told you earlier, my father left me. And I said, I never had a guide in my life. Why don't I become a guide to these guys? And when I do not get a miracle, can I become a miracle to someone else? And as a result of that, I started working with the youth, wiping away somebody's tears, listening to somebody's stories, making friends with them, started helping them. And I started realizing that my mission possibly in my life is to make a difference in thousands of people's lives across the world. And that's been my mission till today. The same place where I started off saying that I want to end my life, just being over here, being a nobody, just helping somebody, it became a place where a beautiful, mission started of helping so many people over the years today. If I would have not isolated myself and gone into that new place, I would have never become the person I am today. And Fallen to Rise, my journey is actually because I went through that breakup. Sometimes the biggest pain changes you as a person. It changes your character. I was, honestly, and I'm saying it very, very honest, that I was selfish. The only person I thought about was myself before the breakup. But as soon as I went to that place, to the north of India, I suddenly realized that life is beyond Bobby Dsouza. Life is beyond the poor me, what pain I'm going through, what difficulties I'm going through. The world needs people who can spread hope. And I'm glad to say that I was transformed.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's what they are called blessings in disguise, right? These situations that really change you and make a big mark in your life, and then you have this need coming from inside, to share your story, to help others, to inspire them, to give hope. I totally resonate with your story. Perhaps not the first part. I come from different situation, but that need and that coming through pain and then rising again and finding a way to share this story and my story, my personal story, is very similar. So I totally resonate with you. Bobby, listen, in terms of chaos and confusion, it's quite easy and natural, I would say, to surrender to feelings and emotions that are negative. And sometimes we freeze, we are unable to move forward. What are commonly the talks, the words that we tell ourselves and that are not, don't serve us, that don't help us moving forward?
Actually, I've realized and I've witnessed this too, specifically during the COVID-19, because there is so much of fear everywhere around you. It's possible that we aren't accepting it, but subconsciously we are picking up a lot of those things. For example, in India, when people are saying that, there are no hospital beds available, the lack of oxygen is really, really less. So every time you just, you just cough or you suddenly get a little breathlessness or something, suddenly your mind says, oh, I've got COVID-19, I'll be on the bed. I'll not have a hospital bed and possibly I might die. So the natural reaction of human being, we are wired to think negative. We are wired to think fear. We do not think naturally saying that, things are good. And, there was this wonderful motivational speaker who gave an example who said that, let's say you're walking on the road and suddenly you hear a sound. The first thought that people have in their mind is, oh, there's a bomb blast. There's a terrorist attack. But nobody that very moment of time will think something like, oh, there's a wedding and there is some crackers. Like in the Indian culture, when people have a wedding, they will have crackers, which will be celebrated. But people will not think about a celebration. People will think about a nightmare of a death or bomb blast. Why? It's because naturally we are wired to think that something bad is going to happen with us. But I've realized over the years that half of the worries and the fears that we think in our mind of things are not going to work out, this is going to turn as a disaster. I'll not be able to survive during this crisis. My finances is not going to work out. I don't know if I will lose a job. My partner is basically cheating on me. I don't know if she's going to break up with me. All these negative thoughts that are coming, half of them are fears that never happen.
Yeah, so
And
the future, yeah.
That's right. And let me just say this, we don't see people as they are. We see people as we are.
So what can we do to avoid spending time commiserating ourselves and for our misfortunes, and instead do something that really serves us?
That's a good question. Very, very critical in times like these. The easiest thing people can do is to keep crying about doing self-pity and consistently doing negative self-talk, which can put people down. For example, people could say, this COVID-19 is never going to go away. Okay, things are never going to work for me. Things have not worked in the past. How do you think it will work in the now? I always struggle with my life. There are always challenges. Things never work out for me. This relationship is always a mess. My children never listen to me. There's one clear thing that you observe in all the statements that I made. They're all things of something that has happened in the past, and people are carrying that in the present and unfortunately in the future as well.
Right.
One of the best way to handle this is every time we get a negative thought in our mind of our past experience, the honest truth is we are no longer in our past. We are no longer, even though we might feel pained about it, we might feel hurt about it, it might put us down. But the honest truth is, the past is no longer with us. We cannot cling any longer to the past. So the only thing that we got to do is we got to let go.
Absolutely.
And when people choose to let go, and then they say, okay, if today was the start of the rest of my life, what could I do differently? What conversation can I have with myself? And I've realized one way to do this is people who are great personal leaders and who lead themselves really well, they do something very specific, which is very powerful. People who are negative will consistently talk about why did it happen with me? Why? They will always ask the question, why did it happen with me? People who are courageous, people who are moving forward, people who are progressing, and people who are happier will consistently ask the question, how and what? That's the biggest difference I've realized. People consistently say, why did it happen with me? Why did she do this to me? Why has coronavirus happened? Why? And the answers normally we'll get with that is because you're stupid, because your destiny is like this. That's the exact answer you'll get. But if you ask ourselves questions which are more empowering, for example, what can I do about this? How can I change this around? What steps do I need to take in order to make this work? What can I do today to create the greatest impact in my life today? How can I help my kids to live an encouraging life? What do I need to do to turn this around?
That's absolutely fantastic. So what you are saying, basically, if I understood correctly, is first of all, stop living in the past and embrace your present.
That's right.
Right? Because you cannot take the past and leave it again. It's past, it's gone. And the second message is change the questions you ask yourself. Stop asking why and focus on more serving sort of questions. So focus on the how and the what. Absolutely a fantastic advice for everybody. So I will be the first that after this recording, I will start asking how and what and stop asking why.
Brilliant. In fact, I'll tell you, if you see on the top over here, these are all my personal journals over the years.
Oh, wow.
each one of them is completely filled up. I have no place to write. Every year, I finish at least a couple of diaries. And one of the things that I do is I consistently, every morning when I get up, before I touch my phone and look at the notification that are coming in, I pick up a diary, I pick up a pen, put on some very inspiring music, listen to the sounds of bird, because we're stuck up, in COVID-19, we're stuck inside the house. We cannot go outside, at least in Mumbai and India we cannot. So I listen to some sounds of birds, rain, music, and I take a journal. And then when I'm inspiring myself, if I'm feeling disappointed, I ask myself a question. Bob, what type of questions are you asking yourself? Are they questions that are jeopardizing your growth? Are they disappointing questions? Or are they questions that are lifting you up to find solution, to think possibilities, to think solutions? And when I'm asking myself the wrong questions, I'm able to then, introspect and find out how can I change the question.
Right.
And writing down really helps me to get clarity, as to what my mind is thinking. And once my mind is decluttered, then I'm feeling more inspired. When I'm feeling more inspired, then I can think more logically. And when I think more logically, I am not reactive, I'm more responsive. And when I'm more responsive, I can plan my day in a real good way. And that's what has worked for me over the years.
Oh, that's another very gold nugget. Basically, what you are saying is you have to create the space to analyze the situation without being reactive to what's happening. So you mentioned this journaling that you have in the morning, and I have to say there has been a time when I was going through depression that I used journaling every single morning, and I found it quite incredible, and I would advise anybody. In fact, I should restart. What else do you do to as a daily routine to set yourself?
I think the first thing that I do is, when I get up in the morning, my goal, and I'm not saying that I'm very perfect in this, because there is nothing called as perfect, right? I'm consistently evolving, getting better with all my mistakes. The first thing I would do is not look at my phone, okay? The other thing that I do is, along with my diary, I will just sit in a quiet space. And the number one thing that I will do intentionally is be thankful for what I have today. And I realize that, it is so natural for us to think about all that we lack. But honestly, when I consider and look at things, what is happening around us, you and I are not sitting in hospital beds today, right?
Right.
We are not running behind oxygen cylinders. We are not getting those challenges that a lot of people are. We have food to eat. We have a family with us. We are still breathing. We can get up every morning and say, oh, I'm breathing, I'm well. So the first thing that I do is I'm just grateful for what I have. And I take a diary and just write down at least 10 things that I'm grateful for. And what I've realized is you cannot be regretful and grateful at the same time. Isn't that interesting? You cannot be fearful and believing at the same time. And therefore, when I get up in the morning, I have to make a powerful choice to say that, Bob, how do you want to start the day? And when I'm grateful, I've inspired myself, I've been thankful. In a few minutes, I've realized that my mindset from a negativity turns to positivity. And then I will put in a earphone and listen to a very inspiring podcast. I'm walking on the road, just taking a little walk, or even when I'm at home, I will listen to an inspiring podcast or read a book, and in a few minutes, I suddenly can observe that my mindset has shifted. My emotions has changed. And when I'm feeling very positive, that's exactly what I need. Absolutely. I cannot feed someone else when I'm starving within myself. And I have to feed myself with nutrition of inspiration every day. Otherwise, I could be starved. And it's very natural for me to react.
Absolutely. So to stand strong in chaos and confusion, the first thing is really to fill our cup, to make sure that we create that space where we can make a conscious decision. That's another thing that I really liked of what you said. Make a conscious decision to start well your day. And gratitude and journaling are the two things that you do. Absolutely fantastic. I think actually when I was journaling, gratitude was part of it. And you have this feeling that your day suddenly becomes better, and there are coincidences that happen that you couldn't realize otherwise. And it's a very strange connection between what happens to you and these gratitude feelings that you express in the morning.
It does. In fact, Louise Hay, actually, I was very, amazed by what she said is, trust that the universe will take care of you, and it will. And it does. If you're going to believe in your own heart, somehow deep down in your subconscious, that, things are not going to work for me. Things are going to be pathetic. I'm going to have financial scarcity. Then, what will happen is whatever you believe, without realizing that those are your actions. And because of those actions, exactly that's the result you're going to get. And that's exactly what you're going to believe. So it's a cycle actually, right?
Yeah, that is actually something that I was thinking, because in life, nothing is linear. You go, there are ups and downs. There are situations where your work seems to progress well, and situations where everything is upside down. And then when you start raising again and lifting your head again, something else happens. So, keeping your emotions at bay, keeping your anxiety at bay, and stay strong and stand strong is very difficult, because it's not one episode, it's not one adversity, it's a sequence of adversities that we have to face in our life. So how do you stay strong despite different situations happening over and over and over again? And I give you the example of India. I'm a meteorologist as my own career. So India is subject to monsoon every year. And so there is this period where there are floodings, there are very heavy rains, disruption. So how can people survive basically at one monsoon, start rebuilding houses, businesses, their own lives, and then a year later another monsoon comes and they have to start everything all over again? So it is difficult, mentally to be ready and prepared for different challenges all the time. So how can we do that?
I think in order to build a real strong mindset, the most important thing is whatever emotions you and I are feeling. Now, firstly, it is very, very natural. A lot of people, what they do is they just suppress the emotion. They say, I'm not feeling scared. I'm not feeling scared. But the honest truth is you are feeling scared. And the best way to handle your emotions is, number one, to be authentic to yourself and say, yes, I'm feeling scared. That's all right. Every human being feels scared. But the question is, you can channel the emotion in the right way and it can work out for you. And the example that I want to give you is, you understand nature much better than me comparatively. And my thought over here is, the sunlight is really, really hot. It's very warm. It is scorching. Somebody could be consistently complaining that the sunlight is, hitting me. Why is this, summer season even there? Like in India or, Africa and so many other countries, summers can be very, very hot. So we would say, why is summer even there? It's so scorching hot. But somebody else says, okay, there is sunlight. There is an abundance of sunlight. Why not use a tool capture that sunlight, make it into solar energy, and then use it as electricity and create a business out of it.
Right.
Right? And I know that you and I know this, but the honest truth is that same sunlight could be scorching hot for someone, but for someone else, it's an element of resourcefulness where the person says, how can I use this to help somebody or the mankind? And I personally think if you and I want to build mindset of the strong, number one, we should not suppress our emotion. We should know that emotions are there, that we're going to feel as human beings, but we can channel the emotions. I've realized that every time I'm going in front of thousands of people, and when I have butterflies in my tummy and I have 1,500 or 2,000 or 400 people in front of the audience and senior leaders who know better than me, who are more qualified than me and are looking at me, and they're not just looking at me, they're staring at me with an expression saying that I don't approve of you. That very moment I'm feeling fear. The question is, emotionally, I could just get paralyzed with it, or I could tell myself, Bob, I'm feeling fearful. But what could I do with it? Okay, can I channel it to say that I'm feeling excited of the unknown? And can I use it as an energy? So then I would clap and say, good morning, everybody. How are you doing? I'm so excited. Just want to tell you that I may look nervous right now because you are more qualified than me. But for the last 20 years, I've inspired so many people. And I'm sure by the end of this seminar, you are going to get impacted because my story is raw, it's real. And even if it connects with one person, my job is done. And suddenly I can see expressions changing around me. People are humbled. I see a lot of arrogant faces turning into awe and saying, oh my God, that connects with me. We can actually channel our emotion in the right way. If you and I want to build a strong mindset, it's very important, number one, not to suppress our emotion, acknowledge it. Number two, channel it in the right way. Number three, never let your belief fall down. Your conviction about who you are, what is possible, never let it fall down. And what I've observed is during times of chaos, the first thing that falls down is people's belief about themselves. Isn't that true, Rossana?
Absolutely, yes.
People's belief that, I can't do this. And what I would tell people is, you and I have gone through the 2008 recession. You and I have gone through the tsunamis that have happened in the world. We have gone through COVID-19 in 2020. We've still survived. We've gone through so much of financial, catastrophe, challenges, sicknesses, and death. We've still survived. If we can go through all of that, still believe in ourselves and still be alive today, what makes you believe that you're not going to survive today? We haven't come this far to only come this far. We have come this far to stride forward. And therefore, it's very important, to not let that tiny inner belief within ourselves to be destroyed. And therefore, just imagine this with me, Let's say it's a very dark night and there's no electricity around and you're caught up in a jungle. The only thing that you have with you is a candle. In fact, I just have a replica of a candle over here. The only thing that you have with yourself is a candle. And there's wind blowing. What do you think you will do to ensure that the light is there?
Try to protect it.
That's right. You'll try and protect the light, right? You'll not try and protect anything else, but you'll try and protect the light because that light will be the source of your warmth. It will guide you. It will give you the light, right? A lot of time people are trying to sort out everything externally. The only thing that people are missing out is to protect the light within themselves. And the reason why I've been able to rise from every fall is I've been able to consciously protect the light of hope within myself, saying that, even through the worst pain that I've gone through in my life, I will not let that hope die down. My mom's been crazy sick. She's come near death. I chose to one day commit suicide. I did not. I've gone through some of the worst in my life. I've been able to survive through that because there was this undying hope within me that something bigger, something better, something higher is waiting for me. And to everybody listening or watching, never let that inner fire of hope, of believing in yourself, let it go away. That's the first thing you need to protect. And then your finances, and then your property, and then the assets outside. And that's how you build a mindset of the strong.
Wow, that is a fantastic advice. I mean, there is so much into what you just said. And just to recap, because I think there were so many nuggets into that. You said that don't be scared of your emotions, because basically they are just there to inform you. So
That's right.
channel these emotions, exploit them. You said keep your vision alive, and don't
That's right.
focus on everything that is outside, because that is not the most important thing. And the
That's
other is that I really liked is, instead of thinking of the fear, why cannot we talk about excitement?
Yes.
And I really like that. And in fact, I was listening to an interview. I can't remember now who said that fear and excitement produces exactly the same physical response. You know,
It does.
we have the heart pumping, the temperature, the body temperature rising, and you know. So we can actually, it's just a matter of mindset, basically. You know,
That's right.
we can say this is not fear, but this is excitement, and that changes completely the way we approach
does.
a situation. That is a fantastic advice. Bobby, how do you keep yourself strong in times of chaos and confusion? Do you follow your own advice, or you have some additional tip?
I think I firstly do apply my own advice, because, as a speaker, as a person who teaches, so many people, the first thing that I want to do is I want to be authentic to myself. You know, if I'm not authentic to my own self, if I'm not honest to myself, then, when I go in front of people, and if I don't keep my own word, then I don't feel a sense of, credibility. There is no conviction in what I say. So the number one thing is, I never, or at least I try my best never to let my fire go off. Okay. I will use a diary, I will use a journal, I will do a quiet time. I call it quiet time, or power time. And I spend time just empowering myself every morning. And I do that every morning consistently over the years. And that's why all the journals that you see on the top. Okay. That is one thing I will do. And I will listen to some people who are really, really inspiring. I will listen to Les Brown. I will listen to Tony Robbins. I will listen to John Maxwell. I will listen to some fantastic people, whether they are podcasts, whether they are books, Robin Sharma, and so many other people. Surrounding ourselves with people who are really, really positive, who know better than you, or who genuinely understand you, who don't judge you, I think is very, very important. What I've seen a lot of teenagers do, and a lot of people do, is they say that, I'm a self-made man. I can take care of everything by my own. I think that's the biggest, lie that people tell themselves. I've realized that over the years, there are so many people who have invested in my life. If I've grown in character, if I've grown as a man, there are people who have mentored me. There are people who have displayed unconditional love. When I did not deserve it, they have spent time with me. They've invested in me. They've given their time to me. And as a result, I've grown. And I've realized that when I'm feeling really, really horribly low, when the journals and the diaries and nothing of that work, then I just open up to at least somebody and say, listen, I'm feeling pathetic. I'm feeling terrible. What do you have to say? Sometimes a hug, works. Sometimes words of kindness work, And sometimes, like Nick Vujicic says, when a hug does not work, when, words don't work, that is the time your personal faith has to rise up. And you say that, even through this, I can rise up and make the best of times like this. And sometimes, I think when you're really feeling terrible, I would give this suggestion to anybody: metacognate. In other words, space out yourself from the problem. Sometimes you just go to sleep over it, I've learned, when you're just feeling that you just had a quarrel with your partner, or you had a fight with somebody and things are not just working out, just go to sleep.
Yeah.
Just go to sleep.
Wait until the morning, and it might change your perspective, right?
That's right. And it does, right? The intensity of the anger or the worry suddenly disappears, and you get up in the morning and say, oh, it was not so bad, I made it so big. So sometimes you got to just space out from that situation. Taking a walk, I think, is beautiful. And if you have nature around you, and if the government still allows you to do that, I think take a walk. It helps.
Absolutely, fresh air. Bobby, sometimes the chaos is inside us. And especially when we face a situation where we feel that we have failed. And society has a very strange way of defining failure. And typically there is a very negative connotation that we give to this word. What is your opinion about it? About failure?
As in, how would you handle the failure?
That, or in general, would you think that failure is something really negative to condemn, or rather something perhaps to embrace as fear, you said before, can be embraced as information that and channeled,
Yes.
Can we do the same with failure?
I think failure honestly is not negative. Actually, failure and success are part of the package. They're part of the package. In India, like, when our mothers, they make pickles, right? They make pickles, right? So what they do is they take mangoes, and they take mangoes and oil and spices, and they marinate them so well, and they keep it in the sun.
Right.
But if there was no oil, the pickle would not get marinated. If there were no spices, the taste would not come, right? Similarly, you got to have failures in your life. The failures basically help you to identify what is not working for you. What mistakes are you making? Failure actually, and I know it's a cliche, but failure is the stepping stone to success. Honestly, I failed terribly, too many times in my life, and therefore fallen to rise. I did not say rise to rise. I said fallen to rise. If you never fall, how will you see the joy of rising? Correct? I think failure, if used in an empowering way, can be very powerful. Like Tony Robbins says that, the biggest screw up of life is not failure, but when we do not investigate our failure. If you use failure as a data, as an evidence, basically, to identify, what good are we doing or what are we missing, then that becomes a good document or a case study for us to say, okay, this is what I'm not supposed to do, or this is the way I'm supposed to find a way out. Like Thomas Edison said, when he failed 1,000 times to create a light bulb, he said, I've learned 1,000 ways how not to make a light bulb.
Absolutely.
So if you use it as a data for us to say, okay, this is what I'm not supposed to do, so there are other ways out as well, then I think it is a great stepping stone to success. And like John Maxwell powerfully says, don't just fail. When you investigate your failure and you say it's a good thing for me, then you fail forward. Every time you make a mistake, but you make a new mistake and you learn something from it. So then you're not failing backward, you're failing forward. And fail forward is progress already. So
absolutely. I absolutely love that because it's really a mindset. And our society sometimes push us in a direction that really doesn't serve us. And the concept of failure is one example. And talking about mindset, in Western country, in Europe, in US, we have children growing with the mindset of achieving as much as they can in lives, whether it's money, status, the job, the house, the family, and so on. And I'm not judging whether that is right or wrong. It's just an observation. What is the mindset that children have and they grow up with in India as adults, into adults?
I think, there is a culture which is built in, which clearly teaches children, to take care of your mother and father. That's the first thing. If you see in an Indian culture, people stay in a joint family. You have a mother, father, and people stay together. And one of the concept behind that is, that when your mother and father become older, you got to take care of them. So care, hospitality is something that is ingrained, and service is ingrained into people, into children. This is something that is consistently taught. Even if you come to India, you'll see a lot of hospitality, and people will treat you with great love. That is something, like in Hindi, there is a word called Atithi Deva Bhava, which basically means guests are like God. So treat them with so much of love, and respect them, and, serve them and give them. That is something that is taught to the children. Failure, unfortunately, in India and actually around the world, is considered as a stigma. You shouldn't fail, you should be perfect. But personally, I think, everybody fails. My question is, let's say I'm an 18 years old guy and I start off my career. I don't know a lot about my life. I fail, and then I get a career. And then suddenly when I become a father and I suddenly have a child who is 15 years old and 16 years old, how can I tell my child not to fail when I have failed miserably so many times? I'm never perfect. So how can I tell my child to be perfect? So I personally think that, I think parents across the world and even in India, I think they don't need to stop children to try out new things and take risks. I think parents need to tell children to fail better, fail forward, learn new things, innovate, take risks. And that's how you're going to have an adventurous life. Otherwise, it's going to be a very, life of routine, or very certain life. And as I said at the start, that, variety and uncertainty is the spice of life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know that you are not an expert on that, but I cannot avoid asking, what is the current situation in India? I mentioned something at the beginning with COVID. What is needed right now?
I think in India, things have got better as well.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the news, there are some painful stories, but there are also success stories. The current situation right now, ground zero, the news is that people are struggling. There is a complete lockdown in most parts of India. People are within their homes. Lot of people are in the hospital, and they are being treated. Lot of people aren't getting the beds like you saw in the news.
Mm-hmm.
Oxygen cylinders are less. But the good part is there are communities in India who are doing so much to help fellow Indians, to get the oxygen cylinder, to get hospital. People are helping each other to such a big extent. So there is humanity being displayed. It's not that money is so less in India. There are necessities of beds and hospitals which are less in India, and there are a lot of people who are helping. The good part is, whether it's France, whether it's UK, whether it's the United States of America, and different parts of the world are also coming in to help. But the more help comes in, the better. Okay.
Absolutely.
My suggestion is, if anybody wants to contribute, it is good that they contribute directly to a specific, hospital or to a specific trust, rather than just giving to something that they do not know. If they can connect directly to a specific lead, like for example, if somebody knows me and I know a specific hospital or a trust or a foundation or a community that needs help. So if you reach out to people and you then, help, I think that's better, rather than just giving a blanket amount of money or an effort, because, it's a very big country and you never know, where it goes. So,
Absolutely. And our thought obviously goes to the whole country, and hopefully,
yes.
The situation will improve. Bobby, we will put all your website and all the information on how to get in touch with you in our episode description, so people can get in touch with you if they need and they want. But before going, what would be the one take-home message that people should really go home with from today's conversation?
I think the biggest message people can take, from today's message is, just because of a fear of tomorrow, do not stop doing the good work that you already know that you should be doing today.
Wow, fantastic.
I think this is my morning introspection, when I and my team, we were discussing, we were thinking this, if I have been successful even to 1%, that's because I have stopped worrying about the future. I've said, what is the best I can do today? And let not the fear of tomorrow, which is unknown, stop you from doing the good work that you already know that you can do today. And that's the message I have for everyone.
Fantastic. Well, I hope that this episode has provided hope, insights, and useful information on how, even when the world around us is in chaos and confusion, we can still stand strong for ourselves and for those around us. And I want to leave you with a quote from Rumi. God turns you from one feeling to another and teaches you by means of the opposites, so that you will have two wings to fly, not one. Our thoughts go to anyone that are still suffering at this time of confusion, and in particular to India. And we hope that with this episode, we could give our small contribution in bringing attention to this difficult situation. Bobby, thank you very much for accepting our invitation. It has been a great pleasure talking to you, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and expertise with us.
It is absolutely a pleasure, Rossana. Thank you so much for your time, and it was a delight. Thank you.
Thank you.